Gentlemen, starting off what seems to be a particularly controversial episode that already had one thumbs down before we even got started, I'm playing a clip of Thomas Massey. If I knew his middle name, I would say it in the British voice. And then we're going to bring in Richard Baris and talk about what is going on with Rep. Thomas Massey, the administration, and the upcoming midterms. Behold!
That is wrong. Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. And if you're a party to that in the Senate, you are part of this cover-up that we are trying to expose. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island. That is what they have coming. In fact, they need to be on the other side of bars, a lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men in handcuffs being perp-walked to the jail. And until then, this is still a cover-up. That is wrong.
Well, we'll pause it there. I might have just referred to it as Epstein Island. Rich, get that out of there.
Oh, snap!
Sorry, we're not ready for that yet.
Whoops! I didn't know it would do without me putting it on the deck. My bad.
No, look, it's because it was in the backdrop behind what I had up. Rich, you may as well come in now. Let's get this show started because Rich, I was gonna.
I really just do that.
I hope it was nothing proprietary.
No, it's all right.
What I was going to say is, if I were Thomas Massey, I might have just referred to it as Epstein Island. The Rape Island is a little hyperbolic and can turn people off that might otherwise be amenable to agreeing that, it might embarrass some big donors and it might embarrass some members of administration who went to the Epstein Island even after knowing what a grubby creep Epstein was. Yeah. And then I was going to say, as far as the arrests go, I'll get to that after your segment because there's been another arrest in the United Kingdom, sir, not in America. Rich, everybody knows you, but let everybody know who you are and what's up.
Well, I mean, I'm the most accurate pollster of the Trump era. That's all they need to know. I mean, and believe me, that hasn't changed since you don't like the results anymore, right? This is not my first rodeo. Of course, I'm the People's Pundit. All right, this is not my first rodeo, Viv. Look, this happened in 2016. I was like the best thing since toilet paper to the Trump coalition in 2016 because I was the only national and state pollster to forecast a Trump win. Trafalgar did, but he never polled nationally, right? And then you had some national stuff out there that did suggest that Trump at least had a chance, but they didn't poll states like we polled. So we were literally the only pollster of 2016 because I was a big vocal critic of the polling industry. I literally created the polling critic industry. Like there's a bunch of people now, but back then it was me and me alone. All right. I literally made it up at a whole cloth and they left hated me because of it. And then 18 came around and our last poll was like Democrat +6 on the generic ballot and all the right wingers hated me again. And then by 2020, we showed a closer race, so they loved us again. All right. And we also told them, and they didn't want to hear it, the sycophants, we call them clapping seals, right? They didn't want to hear it, but if like Donald Trump's approval rating was at an all-time high because he shut down commerce by force using the government, then you were stupid if you didn't see how that would impact the election. And of course, people cheer-led for that as well. The same clapping seals. It did cost him his presidency. It doesn't matter if you think there was fraud or not. The mere fact that he went along with what they did when all the clapping seals did too, trust Trump, trust the plan, 4D chess, blah, blah, blah. So now we're back again to where they love me. This is what it is to be an honest pollster. If you have a side that likes you and likes you all the time, then I'm no different than the other pollsters out there. Like George Gallup is rolling in his grave if the last person who's not willing to take money takes money and sells out like everybody else has done. And I'll just leave it at that, right? So like, this is where we're at now. Believe me, I was right then. I'm right now. And that's all there is to it. It doesn't serve you at all or your side to stick your head in the sand and pretend like I'm wrong when Republicans are about to be humiliated again in Texas, a state Donald Trump just won by 13 plus points, when they're going to lose Ohio because they're too dumb to realize that Trump carried it by over 13 points, but Bernie Moreno barely won it. With Trump on the ballot. So trust me when I tell you, I'm right. and I'm very confident I'm right.
Well,
And I can't wait until we just get there so I can do what I always do. Tap dance on the graves of my critic Wednesday, the day after the election. Please,
well,
let's just get there.
two things here. Some people are going to say that you're biased because they see your Twitter feed and they somehow assume that your methodology is going to reflect your
I
personal
am
opinion.
biased. I'm biased to the voter. I have a strong bias in favor of the American public, who are the only people, even though there's more of them than any other faction or interest group, on the right, left, or anywhere. They have nobody speaking for them. They have nobody giving millions of dollars and constant visits to the Oval Office, constant trips up from K Street to Capitol Hill and to the White House. They're the only ones who don't have a voice. That is the job of the public pollster. So damn right, I am biased 100% in favor of the average voter who is constantly screwed by a captured system and the sycophants who refuse to admit when their own side has been captured.
Let me ask you this question just before I forget it. Some people, the internet is what it is, lie on the internet. And there are some people who say, oh, Rich got this, that, and the other wrong. And I try to verify it and I can't confirm what they say you got wrong. What is, of your memory, I don't know if you have a top one or a top three, what was the poll that you ultimately got the most wrong in your professional career?
The most wrong I've ever gotten in my professional career has to be, because a big one that people keep bringing up is Georgia. A lot of polls in 22, we didn't do final polls. So they're like grabbing polls from April and shit, you know. Our final generic ballot was flawless. It's not the fault of the pollster that Republicans didn't make the gains they were supposed to make. That was their own, that they are to blame for that. And we've done countless episodes on why that is, which I'd be happy to go over. But the worst poll, I think, and I still don't think it's wrong, Dave, right? The worst poll we ever had as far as result to outcome was Arizona in 22, where Kerry Lake, I do believe, won that election. I testified that I believe she won that election, if you remember. But that's it. The Georgia poll you'll see people bring up was Kemp plus 7, he won by 7. Walker was plus 1, and he lost by less than a point. That's a good poll.
Well, that was the one where,
yeah, because they're stupid, bro. People
No,
let me just be real. And I don't mean to interrupt you on your own show. Stop trying to cope because your head is so far up your own ass. You haven't seen all of the pathetic performances of 25 and that you're about to be decimated in 26. All right. This is ridiculous. Or he's the best. No, he's the worst. He's the best. Nobody has a record like mine. Nobody in the Trump era. They would cut their left testicle off to poll as good as me. Get out of here. This is ridiculous.
No, I would love to say, I'd love to say that the only one that is the go-to is the one where we pretty much all agree it was actually stolen. So set that aside. Now, Rich, this is the other catch-22 sort of, or vicious circle or whatever of polling. You put out the polls that you're putting out right now. It looks like doom and gloom. You hope that it raises the alarm so that the tact can be changed so that become midterms, the performance is not what you anticipated or predicted in your polling right now. And then people are going to say, if it does turn around, all of your polling now was wrong.
That's not how polling works.
Explain it for the idiots like me who say, well, you said in what month are we in now? February, they're going to lose. And if they don't get their asses hammered to them in November, then they're going to say, well, your poll in February was wrong.
Okay, well, first of all, polls are, if done correctly, of course, snapshots in time, although we are one of the only pollsters in the country who poll every single day, where I'm also the only pollster who still interviews people myself. I jump on the phone and interview people when they choose to take what is called a peer-to-peer interview, which is a live interview through text. And I'll just say, I'll pop on myself. And sometimes people will recognize me. I'll be like, yo, it's actually Rich. And, I'll have a conversation with people in a way. And I can't, of course, if you have 2,000, 3,000 interviews a poll, man, maybe I do 5, I can't do all that. Right. But I'm the only one who does that. One of the few who still polls every day, but it doesn't matter. The field dates that you see on a poll mean something. They mean that the sentiment that you're putting out at that time reflects the sentiment during those field dates. So the poll with Massey, by the way, as an example, is from February 16th through the 18th. Now, actually, in truth, because we always oversample, that is the last 3-day rolling average of the surveys that we did because we're always in the field. But that's not how it works. If people say that, it's ridiculous. And let me just say this. it just all you're doing is exposing your own ignorance to the polling industry. You're not actually owning anyone. You're exposing your own ignorance about how little you know about politics and about public opinion and how it works. Now, that being said, I got to tell you, at this point, the 5 alarm fires, man, and the flares in the air, right? Going back to like the spring, as early as the spring and summer, and certainly going into the holiday season. At that point, it was a hope that people would listen and course correct and understand, for the sycophant clapping seals out there, like not even in the White House, which, I think we all know now, I've been to, they don't believe you. It's like a politician can't go out and say, man, we're getting our asses kicked. They can't do that. But only you think that you're in a better position. They know better. In truth, in DC, it's already become a blame game, which is what you're looking at now with the Tucker Carlson versus the Israel First crowd. The Israel First crowd knows, and the donor crowd knows, and the foreign influencers know that they're actually to blame here, but they're looking for somebody else to blame. So their strategy has already begun to pivot from trying not to lose to trying not to be blamed for that loss. Like, that's what's really happening. The rest of it is a show for you people at home. Like, I don't know how else to say this anymore. You're the joke. Do you want to be the joke? You're the joke. All right. That nobody's laughing at the polls. They're shitting their pants. And again, man, pardon my language, but they know I'm right. You're the only ones who are out there simping like a bunch of fools. They know it's right. All of their private pollsters know it's right. I told all of you 5 months ago that the Senate was going to be in danger. And you all laughed, you all chuckled, you thought it was hilarious. And by the way, even the NRSC, the White House, they didn't think at that time it was possible either. Yet where are we now? Everyone comes to realize that the Senate is in fact in danger, and the NRSC's own polling has them down in Alaska. My state, North Carolina, it's gone. Because here's what I was getting to. In the spring and the summer and going into the fall, Dave, it was a hope that they would wake up and turn it around. And really, what does that mean? It means, all right, donors, you had your fun. Now get lost and give the damn people, the coalition, the agenda that they voted for. Come back in year 2. Come back in year 3 when it's not peak presidency anymore and it's not a lame duck president, or it is a lame duck. Come back and then get what you want, which can all be done through executive fiat. Don't take peak presidency, which the coalition, the voters need in order to get what they want, because you're selfish and you're just going to tank the entire movement, tank the entire presidency, tank the majorities, because you couldn't wait for year 2 or year 3 to get another piece of a country, to get another industry, right? I mean, that's what's going on here. Unfortunately, now, even I have now started to come into a different, like, now I'm like evolving and transforming. I have to come to grips with the fact that it is almost impossible for Republicans to reverse this trend now. All right. If you look back in history and what it would take, because there has been times where parties have bucked history at this point, they don't have it and they're not capable. I'm like starting to come to the conclusion. Too many people know, yes, he's right. Yes, we know what he's saying is what we have to do to get back on track. They can't do it. They're captured. And by captured, I mean, when I use that word, I mean, they're too entrenched. The interests, the donors, they're too entrenched. All right. It's like trying to turn a giant, massive naval destroyer in a half a second. You can't do it. It takes time to correct the ship, to change the direction of the ship. That time to start changing that direction was the summer, my guy. It was the summer. Now we're coming out of the winter. We're going into the spring. People's minds get locked. Their opinions get locked in. And it's going to be incredibly difficult to erase a 20-point independent deficit. When huge chunks, when 2 out of 10 or a third of your own voting coalition doesn't want to vote for you now, it's almost impossible to fix that. Have I told them what to do it? Yes. Bro, this is what people don't understand. And they take advantage of it. I am there to pick up the phone and tell them what they're doing, right or wrong, for free anytime they want. They know, they just can't. They have whatever excuse. There's always been one. And they can't.
Well, let me ask, and I brought it up while you were talking because I remember living through this in real time, Rich, where
Yes.
the idea that the Senate was at risk 6 months ago was a laughable. It's
Yes.
MAGA Trump winning, and this is from Fox News from
Yep.
February 7th. Now, when you say, they ask me, I tell them what they can do to win, so that nobody just calls you a doomsday or whatever the hell, a
Yeah.
black killer. What do you tell them?
I mean, if people go to the front page of Big Data Poll right now, they'll start to see it. I mean, at Robert's own expense, at my own expense. We poll these, we put these reports together, and tell them exactly what's popular, exactly what people want to do. We came up with the White House focus tracker
That doesn't look like.
explicitly. Yeah,
Is
it
this
is. Just go down. If you go down a little bit, you'll see
Ah,
all
there we
the
go.
press
Okay.
releases. Yeah. I mean, look, you can scroll through them and see all the four freedoms. By the way, we have two entire new other freedoms we haven't gotten through yet. We just started dropping the medical today. Tomorrow we'll do the financial stuff, although some of it really is on the crosstab already. Just don't tell Robert. All right. It's
Rich, I got to ask you this. I mean,
big time. Love that picture.
what is the benefit? What do the donors benefit from the Republicans losing, or is it a case that they'll get what they want, whether it's a Democrat or Republican presidency, Senate? They'll get what they
Right.
need, and so it doesn't matter if they sink it.
It's time to talk real here. All right. Donald Trump's biggest mistake right off the bat was picking John Thune as the Senate Majority Leader. And what that signaled is that he would not go with Rick Scott and go with the wing of the party that actually wanted to take on the Republican establishment. He tried to make friends again. And I understand why he did it. I do. But I just disagreed. The fact is, the Republican Party is corrupt. All right. The Senate Republican Conference is America First's biggest obstacle to any real meaningful change that'll change the trajectory of our country and change the relationship between the individual and the state, that in any way reverses the damage that the left has been doing over the last 100 years. He chose not to do that. All right. And there's that side of it. And then there's the other side, which is the foreign interest side. And, I know nobody likes, so sensitive to talk about Israel. Look what's going on with Tucker today and all of that. The fact of the matter is, the Israel first, America last wing, all right, or committee in the U.S. Senate, which is like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. By the way, 30% of the Republican Party in South Carolina will not vote for Lindsey Graham if he is the nominee this November. So that's all I'm going to say, because obviously I've done some polling in the state, a lot of it, and I'm telling you, here's an exact reason why the Senate is at risk. If Paxton, Cornyn's facing something very similar in Texas, which could cause them 2 states, they absolutely should win. All right, I just wanted to throw that out there. But the Israel first wing, this is something very dark that we're not allowed to talk about, because every time we do, someone calls you an anti-Semite. Like Mark Levin has called me an anti-Semite for my polling and said, because I'm European, it's in my DNA. What nationality? He's Italian? Yeah, it's in his DNA. Like, what are we talking? And so it scares people, and they no longer want to talk about it. And they're free to do what they're doing and have been doing since. I mean, you can go, guys, and verify what I'm talking about in the White House schedule. It's a public schedule. I mean, Netanyahu has been there more than anybody, and there's a reason for it. The Lindsey Grahams and the Ted Cruzes and Bibi Netanyahus, they view Donald Trump's presidency as their last chance to do what Israel has long wanted to do. That's why you heard Mike Huckabee, as the U.S. ambassador, during that interview with Tucker, say, it wouldn't bother me if they took it all, because there is a very real agenda. They're already talking about Turkey next year. They want to take parts of southern Turkey. I kid you not, guys. This is nuts. And they view it. They basically put themselves ahead of you. All right. It doesn't matter if you're pro-Israel or not. This is what happened. They put their interests ahead of you. They knew full well last year that if they would have this bull, with bombing Iran, it would have taken Donald Trump's peak presidency. And by that, I mean, a president has a certain amount of time in his first year to get as much, the big things done. Because once we go into the second year, which I tried warning people about, Congress will not do big things. They don't want to cast controversial votes. They don't want to take risks that are unnecessary risks during an election year. The donors are breathing down their back. You really have 8 months, and that's it. That's what you got as a president to get your agenda through. They decided to hijack the last of that 8 months because they figured their interests were more important than the American public's. They don't give a damn about you. And they figured Next time is going to be a Democratic president. We're getting nothing from them. So we have to get as much as we can from Donald Trump. And they did, guys, and they won. And I hate to say that, but that is the reality. In Washington, D.C., a president's agenda is a constant tug of war between the blob and the donor class and what the American public wants. You have to constantly be on guard in that first year, because if you're not, they will steal it from you. And they did. I mean, there's no nice way to put it. Did the president care? Yeah, I mean, to some degree. Did he ask a bunch of people what should be done? Sure. And then they made the wrong decision every step of the way, which goes to, it should tell you something. You know, I mean, look, you can't have 60% of the country, since the bombing of Iran the first time last year, tell the president we're over this crap, get back to domestic policy, have him ignore it, Dave, then mock people, make Iran great again, posts on social media. He did exactly what Rush Limbaugh in his final days warned him not to do, which is only Trump can break the bond between him and his voter. No media can do it. The FBI can't do it. No external force can do it. The minute you start talking down to your own supporters, the minute you start breaking promises, the minute you start even making fun of them, yeah, we don't have talented people here. If you're concerned about the Epstein files, guess what? I don't want your support anymore. If you don't think that is what Rush was talking about, then you don't understand the Trump coalition. And that's where we're at now. We're living the consequences of those decisions. And it's not, that's just me being an objective person calling it how it is. Nobody interviews as many voters as me in this country, brother.
Well, no, that's what I'm following the chat, and the people who are upset at what you're saying in true form go after the messenger and not the message. You're not just expressing your own personal opinion. This is now your opinion, also backed by the data, the polling that you've done in terms of the unpopularity of potential regime change in Iran.
70%, brother. 70%, which, by the way, they have seen. I mean, they know it's unpopular.
But what are they? So let me just ask you this.
Yeah.
And for a sec, I'll steel man the argument that some people say, it's not Israel first and America last. It's, America first doesn't mean America only. That's the steel man argument.
Okay, but it is, because that's how Washington. Okay, now back to reality. All right. In the real world, that's a cute little phrase. In the real world, to people who know DC, because you don't. If you're saying things like that, it means you don't know what you're talking about. In the real world, this is a zero-sum game, especially in the president's first year. You either get your agenda or they get theirs. Those are cute little phrases that they made up for you to parrot. You didn't get what you wanted. You got cocked. That's what you got. All right. And listen, this purification through subtraction thing is a strategy that Democrats tried to do throughout the Trump era, even going into Hillary Clinton's campaign. If you don't agree with us, then we don't want you anymore. You're just a basket of deplorable. If you don't agree with this, that doesn't work. You end up with 35% of the electorate. You're all super, pure in your litmus test. And guess what else you are? All alone and in the loser box after elections. That's not what Donald Trump's coalition was. This is a coalition that was the most diverse, dynamic, young coalition you have ever seen a Republican put together, and it's blown in a year. Let me tell you, it's you. It isn't the rest of them. It's you.
Now, people are going to say, I'm upset by what you're saying. It's your own personal opinion. Why so negative? What is the polling? And how is it done? What's the methodology so that people can't say, oh, you're only polling people, Rich, who think like you. That's why they don't support regime change in Iran. How do you do it?
First of all, I have put up, and just before we get into the specifics of the methodologies, I have put up countless interviews from people transcribed in their own words. We're not polling anybody who's like, all right, let me put it this way. We haven't changed methodologies since we've been this accurate from the very start. Nothing has changed here since you loved us because we showed Trump was leading Harris, right? No, nothing has changed since you loved us because we showed that Trump was closer to Biden. It was a closer election in 2020, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing is any different. These aren't my opinions. This is people's opinions. Hundreds of thousands of interviews conducted in the year 2025. It's February already, and we're at like 20-something thousand interviews.
This is what I want to illustrate. I'm not trying to pick on you, DePatriot01. It's not. Baris's opinion is based on the evidence that he has seen, the
That's
polling that
your
he
bias.
has done.
Yes. That's your bias. That is your attempt at you're seeking a confirmation bias. You're looking for an affirmation. So you're attacking people who are delivering accurate information because it doesn't reflect what you want. Here's your problem. You went into 2024 and then winning the election. You went in thinking everybody in the Trump coalition looks like the guy or the girl in the mirror if you're a girl. That's not how politics works. Just because you agree with something and you thought, that you're good with Trump no matter what on the top 5 issues at any given time doesn't mean every person in his coalition who voted for him in 2024 agrees with that. They had their own agenda. Look, let's be real, guys. Who's wrong? Them or you? Did Donald Trump decimate the deep state? Did Donald Trump completely dismantle the deep state, a promise he made 52 times on the campaign trail? Did he or did he not promise not to get into any new wars? Now, you're coming up with excuses because you're a Trump supporter, but you can't be mad at the independents. Let me show you guys something, which is...
No, but just everybody understands also, like, I can steel man it and I'll say, all right, it's not a war, Rich. It was a 12-day incursion. It was a 12-day, it was a strike.
Yeah, that's
no, and now, but the thing is, what you're telling people is that the people don't believe those semantics. And when they see more of an emphasis on Iran, more of an emphasis on Venezuela, more of an emphasis on Israel than their own people, then dismantling the deep state. Mike Davis put out the tweet from way back, a list of 13 people. Be careful. Justice is coming. Lawyer up. And I asked Grok, like, how many of them have faced charges? Oh, well, Comey was the only one. And those have been, basically tossed. Other than that, nobody. So, there we go. Okay,
I just wanted to show you guys something. Yeah, go ahead, keep going. I don't.
So what people can say is like, yeah, you can make the arguments, and what you're doing is you're arguing the hypothetical and you're arguing the semantics, and Rich is producing the data from the streets of the people who are going to show up or not.
Arguments are falling flat. You've lost. Just like I told you and the administration that you're losing the narrative on ICE. Now you have effectively lost. You didn't listen. You thought it was cool. You thought it was funny. The country had 5 months of nothing but constant propaganda from MSNBC and CNN. They completely, while you were effing around in the Middle East with Israel and on Iran, the left was dealing with domestic narrative, and they outflanked you. And now ICE is more Americans support defunding ICE and getting rid and disbanding it than they do defunding the FBI, who twice tried to wage a coup against a duly elected president. That's how bad you've lost this argument. Just marinate on that for a second. One agency is tasked with getting rid of a bunch of illegals who, by the way, the country still supports getting rid of. They just did it so poorly. And your arguments seeking affirmations and confirmations have been so poor that you lost the narrative war against the FBI and the left. That's how bad it is. This is February 2nd, Dave. And I want to show this because, again, like I said, nothing has changed methodology-wise. We still do things the same way we did before, which was the most accurate national poll in 2024. We edged out the Wall Street Journal, who was number 2, all right, to being the number 1. Here's what we did that the Wall Street Journal did not, because everyone loves to compare apples to oranges, approval to vote share.
Let me just specify something. I can't move. I don't have the dynamacy, I don't believe, of moving our screen. So,
okay.
Sorry about
I'll
that.
scroll it though. How's that, brother? Is that better, bro?
So
okay.
Tell us what the hell's going on here.
Yeah.
I see a lot of red arrows in the wrong direction.
They're all in the wrong direction. And it gets worse because this is February 2nd, the all-time low we just released for Donald Trump, which was 42% approve. Now, look, you have CNN, SSRS do what they do, which is exaggerate numbers. He's not negative 21, brother, but he is negative 13, which we led the trend on both DDHQ and Real Clear Politics. You don't do that on accident repeatedly, time and time again, unless you're constantly right and ahead of the trends. That's how we do it. I don't know if anyone noticed, but when our poll went into the average, we moved the entire trend because everybody followed us 3 days later. Okay, we were literally 42, 55, negative 13. And the media will always exaggerate that, but they're not wrong about the trends. It's worse than it was on February 2nd. Now, I'm just putting this up to show people, Dave, where this is all gone. All right. The Epstein stuff killed him with young women 18 to 29. It killed him. Actually, and what do I mean by that? We, going into the election, didn't just do vote share. You had a whole bunch of people bringing up this one poll, which I won't name, bringing up this one poll showing his approval higher than his vote share was in 2024. Approval and vote share aren't the same thing. When our poll, which was perfect when it came to vote share, came out, we also asked approval for Trump retrospectively, and it was approved plus 7.4. Yet he only won by about a point and a half, a little under. Okay. So we can do apples to apples. Unlike every other pollster out there, we can, because we did retrospective approval rating. That's what you're seeing here. Where it was on November the 3rd, 2024, right before the election, the Sunday before the election, to where it was on Monday, February 2nd. And again, it has shifted even more because it's been another overall -4 trend away from Trump.
Okay, so how do you identify that the downward trend from women aged 18 to 29 was due to the Epstein rollout or debacle?
So that's why how we interview people matters. So we literally ask them in our interview, can you tell us a little, we want to ask you, and you don't have to, they don't have to answer if they want to. Most people will. In a couple of sentences, can you tell us why you answered this way on approval? Can you tell us why you answered this way on such and such? Most important issues, we do it for that as well. On the White House Focus Tracker, when we ask people whether or not they think the president's too focused on foreign policy, domestic policy, or is he striking the right balance, we'll say again, give us a few sentences or give us a few words on why you answered the way you did. And then we have these wonderful things, bro, called word clouds, which we've put on X countless times. I don't even know how many times, and you can see it. I've also been hired by certain organizations after they got their asses kicked in 2025 in two very important states to review their texting data and to review their door knocking data to find out what it was that caused these people to slam doors in the faces of the door knockers, to curse off the people who are texting them get out the vote messages or call to action messages in their text message. In Virginia, brother, it was Epstein. It wasn't even the government shutdown. That was number 2. Epstein was the first thing. He told me he didn't want my vote anymore. And that's, stuff like that. It was references to Epstein, which is viewed as a proxy for no accountability, which is what it comes down to.
If you want to take, I don't know if we need the backdrop anymore. You can.
Yeah, I can bring that down. I had other crosstabs I wanted to put up.
Anyway. Yeah, you bring them up as you want. You're in control of it, so I can't knock them out. And so, bottom line, like when you prompt them for the why, it's not a open ended. It's a non-leading. So there's not any sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
And I presume there's industry standards for that, so you're not prompting the response.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you elaborate in a sentence or two? Can you elaborate on why you just gave the answers you did? That's it.
And now, the only Steelman opposite argument is going to be the only types of people. The argument will be those who are more prone to actually take the time to do the polls. And among that subset, those who are more prone to even answer additional questions because it takes more time are going to be a type of person to generate a certain result.
Okay, you're referring to a response bias. We are literally the pollster who designed the most modern methods in dealing with response bias. That methodology was stolen by the AP for VoteCast and the new exit polls. You're not going to be the pollster who's known for being able to combat response biases, which is how I became a public pollster in 2016. And I took huge crap for it because the methodology at that time was new. It was innovative, but it was also not what the industry wanted to see. So I was criticized for it. And my entire argument was what you just said, and that huge shifts in public opinion from polls, like NBC News, their tracking poll went from Clinton plus 13 to Trump plus 2, or Clinton plus 2 in like a week. The entire point of that was, look, this is how you guard against response bias. What you're seeing in the shift is nothing really more than an artifact of the poll itself. And this is what you're doing wrong. There are also ways to be able to tell whether or not you have been duped by a response bias. One of them is that you will see a recalled vote that is nowhere near what it was in the election before. Like, who did you vote for in 2024, for instance? The New York Times a couple weeks ago got criticized for this by the president's pollster, wrote out a memo and everything. It happened before the election. It would be like Biden plus 10 instead of Biden plus 4 that he won by. You will look right there. Thinking back to the 2024 elections on the top right of the screen, folks, the sample is Trump plus. It's Trump by almost as much as he won the election by percentage. So there's another way that there are various ways that you can also tell what, and I'm not giving up proprietary information just so people can get like heads out of the sand. They can kiss my ass. They can find out November that I was right and you were duping yourselves. I've been through, it's not my first rodeo. I enjoy it. All right. So, all right. I get entertained by it. But there are other ways that you can look into a poll and see that there is a response bias in the poll. All right. And often I'll tell other pollsters, well, this looks like something went wrong here. How much of your share of Hispanics, by the way, are female? How much of them are male? Like, we have specific guidelines and quotas for the amount of people or interviews that we must complete per demographic group to make sure that the sample that we gather is representative. All right. And we have minimum sample sizes for that reason. If you go, by the way, and I can show you guys. Let me go to crosstabs real quick. Let me save this because I made this specific.
This stuff, watching this is exactly the type of stuff that gives me anxiety, that I do not like these tabs. I don't like them. I don't like knowing how these, if it works anything like Excel spreadsheet, this makes me nauseous looking at.
Yeah, I made that last crosstab just for you guys in this show specifically. But let me tell you, there's no way in my industry I would be able to do what I do with demographics, which, by the way, I can confidently say I am the most transparent pollster in the industry. Nobody opens up their back end, their databases, and does this. Nobody goes through other crosstabs.
No,
it's crazy. Have you ever seen a pollster do this? Never.
No, I've never heard a pollster say nobody opens their back end like I do.
But that's what it is. I mean, it is, you have the front end data and the back end data. I mean, that's what I know it sounds crazy and funny, but look, this is more demographics than you'll see in any public poll. There, you won't find nested variables like this, like race by sex, education by race. You won't find that in any other pollster's work except for mine, unless you're dealing with an exit poll that comes out on election night, right before they start counting votes. Nobody can do this because nobody spends the money that we spend in order to poll. You can poll cheap and cut corners, which is, what a lot of people do. I don't name them by names, but, especially these online panel people, if they collect, like YouGov, I will name a name. Here we go. YouGov, they're not data appending or what's called deduping to the voter file. So they don't even know if those people are really voters or not, brother. They're basically relying on a voter or someone they're interviewing, an adult they're interviewing, to say, yes, I'm a registered voter. And that's it. And self-reported likelihood to vote, self-reported voter status is not 100% reliable, to say the least. So you have to go the extra mile to make sure that all of these are truly, the target of the population that you're after, and that these are, that the subgroups are sufficient enough in size that they represent them. And that's the only way to deal with lower what you were referring to before, which is a response bias and lower participation rates. It's the only way to counter that in the polling world, which is what I'm saying is nothing new. It was new 10 years ago when I was the only pollster nationally and statewide predicting a Trump victory. That I had to deal with, but it was all criticism from the left. Never has it been from the right until 2018 when I said they were going to lose the House and they didn't want to listen, till 2020 when I said that COVID was going to cost him his presidency and they didn't want to listen, et cetera, et cetera. Like, again, if you're a pollster and you're honest, you shouldn't be like, I keep seeing posts, brother, they're like, you turned on Trump. No honest public pollster could turn on a politician because they never should have been turned on by them in the first place. I think a lot of people mistook my defense of the voter, right, as a defense of a political party or of a politician themselves. I represent the voter. I represent the American people that we interview and we speak to. That's who we talk. That's who we represent. Do I have my own? Of course, but yeah, there it is. I mean, there it is.
I mean, I knew it. I just want to bring it up. Take yours out of the
North
backdrop as well.
Carolina was flawless. I mean, can I show some of this? I mean, it's ridiculous. North Carolina, we actually got Trump's vote share right on the dot to the tens of percentage points, and we got Kamala's. I think it was 4/10 too low. It was like the same point, but it was 4/10 of a percentage point too low. In Florida, it was exactly right. Trump 13 and change, right? In Ohio, exactly right. While Ann Seltzer put out a Harris +2 or whatever it was, we were exactly right. I mean, and I'm not saying a couple of like points. We said 81 by 10. No, I'm saying exactly right. Pennsylvania, exactly right. So, I mean, you guys can, try to explain that away all you want, but it gets a little bit ridiculous. You look a little silly. All right.
First of all, I'm so happy I just figured out how I can take your back end out of the screen by going to Duo.
That's great.
Yeah, look at this. Now, when you want to bring it back in, let me know. Excuse me. The question that I have now.
Yeah, when you're ready to talk to the Massey thing, I made that.
Yeah, we'll get to Massey in a second. This is I love the detour, and we might not get to the other stupid stories of the day. Which, if you want to watch about the other assassination attempt and Trump, everyone's been talking about that. This is singularly unique and important. Action items, and I keep looking at. I know that Barnes has been talking about the poll that shows. What's her face? Pam Bondi is the most detested politician in America.
Yeah.
Are there like 3 action items that could be done overnight that could start redirecting the ship? Like Trump comes out and fires Pam Bondi. Would that have a concrete impact on potential outcome come November?
It would be a first step. Policing your own side at this point is a big deal. There's like more than just issues, themes, and narratives that have taken root in the American electorate that is really problematic for Donald Trump. Nobody really thinks Donald Trump himself, on the right anyway, nobody thinks that Donald Trump himself did anything wrong when it came to Epstein, but Epstein was just a proxy for holding people accountable. And now it looks like he was like covering for Howard Lutnick at the very least. I mean, just stupid stuff like that. He has to right this ship. I mean, everything that Barnes and I suggested months ago, he should have done, he should have just done, and that would have been the end of it. And just so people, if they don't know, what I did tell them to do was not dismiss this. I mean, you're basically being baited. Not to dismiss it. You have to come out, because I understood the challenges, but unlike some, with releasing the Epstein files. You simply tell the country not that you don't want their support anymore if you care about this issue, because he got killed. I remember when Charlie was still alive. He knew it. He's like, there goes all the young women. Like, he knew it immediately. Like, that was it. And our polling showed that that was going to be the first crack. All he had to say was, this is the same FBI who framed me, who tried to wage 2 coups against the presidency. This is Robert Mueller's FBI, James Comey's FBI, Joe Biden's FBI, Barack Obama's FBI. It would be irresponsible of me. Who knows how they duped all these files. It would be irresponsible of me to just dump them out. Give us a little bit. I promise we'll get to it. We'll get to the bottom of it. I'll even revisit. I told them to set a certain date to revisit it, so you didn't think you were just stringing people along, but they didn't. They went with binders. You remember this? I mean, come on. Who did this? This was a self-inflicted wound, brother. Nobody told Pam Bondi to go on Fox and do that. She did it. Nobody told her to invite all the influencers to burn Benny Johnson, to try to burn Mike Cernovich. They did that. So, I mean, that's on them.
Well, no, and the retrospective sort of, the walking it back excuses. Oh, well, now you see how confusing it is because people's names are in there and they're not implicated. That could have been the preface to doing it properly. I just want to highlight this. I don't know if it means I'm so insignificant I didn't even make it in anywhere whatsoever. Neither Freiheit, which is also a German word, so it means that nobody was into some German.
I couldn't put you in there, then I would have been accused of bias. All right.
Hold on. You didn't see what I brought. There we go. Sorry, I didn't share the screen. No. This is Freiheit. No, which means that no one anywhere in the Epstein files even read Angela Merkel's autobiography, which was called Freiheit. Okay, now you want to now. Okay, so I guess that's it. Walk us now. Now we're going to get to it now. When you came out and put out your poll last week, that showed that Thomas Massey is polling at, what was it, 7 to 10%?
Three-way. Yep.
What's funny is it's like it's rabid, frothing at the mouth vitriol that you get on X, which I'm not saying there's coordinated campaigns one way or the other. there's mobs on both ends, and some mobs are bigger, some mobs are, I will say, better financed. The anti-Massey mob is a very interesting thing. It's vitriolic, it's stubborn, it's deaf, and I don't know what the thought process is that somehow it's going to help Trump to shit on Massey.
Yeah.
Set that aside. We all understand Twitter is not real life, but to some extent, it might reflect a little bit of the elements of real life. That being said, when the fake life of Twitter meets the real life of your polling, they melt down.
Yeah.
And so nobody can believe that Thomas Massey as an independent would be polling higher than RFK Jr. was back in, I don't know what year. And so I had my own skepticism, but I'm not calling you a liar. And I don't think you're falsifying this. I want to understand how you got to that result.
Yeah.
So explain to us.
Well, first of all, I will say about that Massey crowd, they're well funded. Okay. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Let's get real. We need a FARA law for social media. For people who don't understand what I'm talking about, social media is completely bought now. It's really sad. People are posting because they're paid to post, not because they're honest. Very few of us actually do take the money. All right. They're coming from foreign entities. They're coming from big donors. They're coming from special interests. And we absolutely need a FARA law. All right.
Let me just pause it here. Why are we watching this clown asks 2DZ? A, because he's right, and B, don't watch and then don't understand what happened.
Watch, bro. I'll see you in November, bro.
Why wasn't I looking in my rear? No, it's like, hey, why wasn't I looking in my rearview mirror? I didn't see the pickup truck coming to slam into my back end.
I'll see you in November, G. It's cool.
By the way, just also to remind everybody, if you're watching on the landing page of Rumble, click into it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give a thumbs up. Your links are up there, and they will be afterwards. So not only will they watch you now, they'll watch you after this. peoplespundit.locals.com. And you're on, that is right, peoplespundit.locals.com.
Yes, peoplespundit.locals.com, which you get. Yeah. Like, by the way, if you were even just a regular sign up, not even a paid supporter on Locals, you would know why this is happening. All right. So my Locals crowd is super savvy, brother. Super savvy. And they've been following along every step of the way. This is not surprising to them. Why Republicans lost every special election in 2025 by a greater margin than anybody expected. Even when they won in Tennessee, by the way, they still did not win by the margin they should have. Why they're not voting in Texas right now. Okay. I mean, nobody in my Locals community is surprised because they're much more well informed. And by the way, it's probably 90% Trump, 10% Democrat, my Locals, but they listen because they're not searching for affirmations, and they're not looking for confirmation bias. They're looking for the truth, right? So that's how I've built the audience I've built over the years. For people who say that RFK, let's go to March of 22 first, okay? And actually, can I pop this up on the screen real quick?
There you go. This is what you want. You have control now.
Here's where Massey is without leaners, which is very, very important, guys. 8.3% in a three-way between Gavin Newsom, JD Vance, and Thomas Massey. Just
what do leaners
understands, right?
What are leaners?
So here, 12% said they were undecided, and that's all registered voters that are in the sample. That's not surprising. Very early, you're going to find a very high undecided number. It's very similar to what we saw at this point in Joe Biden's term, which I'm going to show you in a second. After, though, they say they're undecided, we always say, okay, but look, if you're undecided, if you had to decide today, who would you vote for? And we don't give them the choice of copping out. They have to decide and pick somebody. After that, Massey rises from 8.3 to 11.5. JD goes from 37.2 to 41.3, and Newsom goes from 42.3 to 47.2. We also did the two-way. I'm just sticking with the Massey example for a reason right now. Just so everybody knows, we have polled this and Harris, JD versus Harris, I think 6 or 7 times. And the entire time we've been tracking it, this is the first time that JD has been down. He has never been down. Now, we've seen that gap start to close. He's led from a range of 2, a low of 2, to a high of 8 points. By the way, we'll be doing Rubio. We'll be dropping Rubio very soon. For everybody who thinks Rubio is a stronger candidate, he's down by 8. So ha, ha, ha. LOL.
If I may ask you a question, Cat Dad says Massey would take votes away from Newsom. LOL. No Republican or MAGA will vote for Massey.
Yes, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. This is just okay. Yeah.
Even if you believe that, all the less of a reason to get mad at Rich for his assessment. But sorry, so that's wrong.
He's wrong anyway. Absolutely, he's wrong. 100%. If we go to, I was showing the difference between people who do and do not know Massey and Ro Khanna, whether you agree with this or not. We have polled every single legislative not even accomplishment, act since Trump's been in his administration. That includes the big, beautiful bill. The most popular action taken by Congress was the Epstein Transparency Act. Okay. I hate to tell everybody.
No, but some people are going to look at you and say that nationally, people don't even know who Massey is.
Right. And that's why I did this. So obviously registered who recognize Massey, registered who do not, likely who recognize him, likely who do not. Here's two things. One is you're kind of wrong if you think that. When we asked at this point about candidates like Robert Kennedy, for instance, during Biden's administration, most people actually who said they knew Robert Kennedy misidentified him. And they didn't, that when we would ask them, Robert F. Kennedy, when we did this, I think Signal did it as well. Or maybe it was Patrick, who's another pollster, he's a Republican pollster. But a couple of us were doing this, asking whether or not people even knew which Kennedy we were talking about. And in truth, they didn't. They misidentified him until we got into where the campaign was heated up and he was forced to actually become an independent because they were changing rules and Democrats were doing what they were doing to keep him off the ballot. But in the beginning, at this point, they didn't really know who he was. Secondly, as I just said, the Massey-Ro Khanna petition was the most popular legislative act that Trump's entire second term. Now, I know that's going to piss the president off, but it's the only thing that gets above 70% support. If they pass the SAVE Act, that would actually be the most popular, but they haven't done that yet, right? The big, beautiful bill was majority popular in our polling, but it was nowhere near this. It was in the 50s, all right? So understand, for a congressman, he actually does have relatively high name recognition because of his fight over the Epstein files. Okay.
And if I may pause you there also, to suggest that Trump would be publicly, beefing with Massey and that wouldn't have an impact on his national recognition,
of course, right,
is illogical. But okay. Interesting.
You can actually see right here when you look, and again, our recalled vote is almost flawless. When you look at the recalled vote, who did you vote for? Did you vote for Trump or Harris in 2024? You can see even before we lean the undecideds that more people chose Massey who voted for Trump than chose Kamala Harris. Breaking down in raw numbers, 65 people we interviewed who voted for Donald Trump chose Thomas Massey over JD Vance, and only 49 who voted for Kamala Harris chose Thomas Massey. When we lean them, it gets even worse, which you can see down here. So actually, it looks about even, and it's like, within, because we're talking about small samples, until you lean people, and then you see, in fact, he actually hurts JD Vance slightly more. And this is for what a lot of you like hardcore Trumpers don't understand. A lot of Trump's coalition, forget about whether you're a Republican or you self-identify as MAGA, because I see all these polls saying he's got a 90+% among MAGA. That's not true, because 20% of people who identified as MAGA in 24 going into the election are gone. They either identify as an independent now, or they identify as traditional or unsure. The coalition has fractured. Again, you're purifying through subtraction, and you think it's a good thing, when in fact your tent is shrinking. You're wrong. So
who's done the poll as to who considers themselves MAGA 2026 versus 2024?
Me, I am the only one who's been polling this long. We see a lot of other pollsters asking this now. Same thing with Democrat identification. That we started asking whether they were Democratic socialists or traditional liberals back when Joe Biden was taking on Bernie Sanders in the primary in 2020, and we started asking about America First years ago, brother. I don't even remember when the first time was. 2016. We asked whether you were America First or MAGA versus traditional Republican. And we were the first ones to do it. And it used to be as high as 60-something%. It is now, here, I'll show you guys right now.
It's amazing because people
Actually,
while you do that, let me just illustrate this so that people understand. If they say now 90% of MAGA is whatever versus it was 82% 2 years ago, and if it was 100 million 2 years ago, I'm just picking big numbers, versus 60 million now, well, good, congrats. 90% of 60 million is actually less than 82% of 100 million.
Exactly. There are so many voters who have left calling themselves America First over what is known in this industry as disaffection. All right. Whether it was Epstein, and honestly, just so people understand, I don't think Epstein alone would have been enough to do it. What really did it was like, I call it like a two-piece to the chinamanga. You said, F yourself on Epstein, I don't want your vote. And then weeks later, you bombed Iran, which they didn't want to do either. And then you posted make Iran great again, and you like ridiculed them. Understand, guys, that Rush Limbaugh was a smart cookie. And he knew that this was the only way you could really fracture the coalition, which was to basically lie to and then mock or dismiss, effectively act like a politician. Right? Mm-hmm. That is what Donald Trump never did. No matter what you say about him in his first term, he never did this. If you go and look at some of the comments, Dave, what do you mean? We got talented people here. No, we don't, Laura. We don't have talented people. There is a very different tone in Donald Trump's voice, how he talks about the American public. And I'm not saying this to criticize him. I'm saying this because this is my job. I analyze what I hear from people. I'm not even the one who came up with this. I have been listening to voters say this, and they usually put the thoughts in my head, like, oh, okay, maybe I understand what they're saying. That's how we came up with the White House focus tracker, by so many voters saying he was elected to put America first, and yet all he does is talk about Iran or this country or that country. This is not like Trump 1.0. So like, they gave us the idea to do the White House focus tracker. The same thing goes with this. If he didn't pivot from the Epstein debacle to bombing Iran, and instead he went back to a domestic focus, Doge, right, or whatever, then we would have seen, I think, him recover, but he didn't. And then, by the way, I mean, again, it's all public record. You could look at the White House schedule. After the bombing of Iran, it was 6 weeks, brother, of nothing but foreign policy, and the government was shut down. And this is what people tell us. Like, there was just
and also, like, people, you want to make the argument that it's not foreign policy because it's domestically beneficial, therefore it's domestic policy. But right. Even with Venezuela, the argument is stronger with Venezuela than with Iran,
which I personally supported. Just so everybody understands. This is when people are like, this is your take. No, it's not. I gave them a plan to take Latin America over. Okay? That's what I did. I wanted him to do. I wanted to install 3 Latin American governors that are presidents of existing countries. I wanted to divide Latin America into 3 regions, and I want to take all their shit. That's what I want to do. So when people accuse me of passing off my own opinion, you have no idea how wrong you are. I literally submitted a plan to give Milei a portion of Latin America, to give Bukele a portion of Latin America. I'm not kidding. And I wanted to make them effectively Roman governors, provincial governors. And I wanted to take their gold, to take their oil, and to take their shit, because we have no chance to pay off this national debt. And if we don't do it, someone else is going to anyway, so we might as well. So you have no idea how different I am from my own analysis.
So now, Rich, the question that we were just at, which I've now totally forgotten.
Oh, sorry.
The foreign policy not being domestic, not being America first, and then they try to spin it and say it's not America first, it's not America only. But the question is, if it doesn't resonate, you can try to make people believe it, and you can tell them it's shinola. If it's shit, they're going to know it. And so that's the argument. Whatever the arguments are, it's not translating or converting with the base.
Yeah.
And what is in fact happening is pushing them away for 6 solid weeks, where they think you're focusing more on MIGA than MAGA.
Yeah, and Mark Penn is a Democratic pollster, by the way, but a great pollster. He polls for Harvard Harris, or at least he gives his overall look at it now. Mark doesn't do the trench work anymore, but he gives his overall approval. He said something years ago that's a really profound thing for a pollster to say, because he's right. After a while, like the rhetoric versus reality thing, which is what you're talking about right there, even if it's successful for a little while, it won't last. Reality always wins, right? So what Americans are not seeing are the advancements that they want to see. So, and the pivot that they want to see. And also, there's a lot of like fakes. Hello, gorgeous. I just want to say hello. But yeah, there are a lot of fake outs that happened, that where people thought Trump was going to pivot back, and then he didn't, right? Going into the new year, he gave that speech about how great we're doing. He tells the country we're going to pivot to healthcare affordability. We're going to do that. And then he snags Maduro, right? So like, every time they think he's going to right the ship, the foreign interests come back and domestic.
And at the end of the day, you can impute whatever intentions you want, whether it's golden buzzer, golden pager, whether or not it's donors, whatever. Doesn't change the bottom line.
Doesn't change it. Yeah.
But now the question is this. So people can agree or disagree, but it's showing that Massey is much more popular than the people calling him masshole on Twitter
Oh,
might. Okay. And by the way, I just want to say to the quartering, thank you for the raid, the quartering. I'm going to get to all the Rumble rants afterwards, but Jeremy raided us and we're going to go raid Redacted sooner than later. But okay, sorry, keep going. And you want me to bring up your screen?
Yeah, if you can. I'm just going to put up because
it's the wrong one. Here we go. There you
go. I might have to go and look for it. I know I screenshotted it and gave it to you. I may have to go and like pull it up. Let me go to the editor here. I may have to make a new one though, just to make it easier. But if we go to questions, I know it's here. March 2022, Trump versus Biden versus Trump with leaners. Okay, let's do that. And I'm not going to save it, so I'll just put it as the top row so people can see. We'll close it. And you can see that we had a generic someone else back in March of 2022. And you could see, because it was this early, which is right around this is the equivalent of the poll that we just released. Of course, it's February, it's slightly off, but this was March. Do I have the days here? Yeah, 12 to 14 in 22. You can see that there was a 14.1% someone else. That's typical. When you're doing this, when it's this early, you'll get a higher undecided. May 22nd, we added Kennedy, and I believe it was, right? Let me just make sure. No, we added a third party. He got 11% at that time. When we added Kennedy looks like October might have been the first one. Let me just show people because I want to give people this idea, like where they say, well, he's not as well known. That's not true. It's actually not true. And it's also very typical that we see higher numbers. Now, I will say this with Kennedy, the problem that Vance is going to have is what I showed you in the other crosstabs, brother. Like there's disaffection, very real disaffection. Kennedy and third-party candidates were getting support from Biden's disaffection in 22 and 23. The problem for Republicans right now is that Massey's getting support from their disaffection, and they just don't want to hear it. But because you don't want to hear it, doesn't mean it's not true. All right. And by the way, here's Kennedy. He got 9% without leans. So Massey got 8.3. He got 9. It's actually right in the neighborhood. So I guess what I'm trying to nicely say here is the criticisms that we saw on X aren't really true. Like the preface of the pretext of them is false. Maybe you're looking at another pollster and maybe some other pollster had some weird results that just don't make sense to you comparing to ours, but you have to compare apples to apples. And actually we did have an 8 to 11% third party vote for Kennedy. And some people had it much higher, which we never did, brother. He never grew like, I think 15 or something for us. You know,
we'll get to the chats in a few seconds. And while everyone's here, just everybody follow Rich if you want reality that you might not like. Make sure you're subscribing here. And the question is this, Rich, so that it's not all doom pill, because we're not yet at doom pill. And the reality is, look, balance of power shifts back and forth. You know, it wasn't the end of America under Biden, but it was pretty damn close.
Yeah.
3 to 5, and I know you've given them 3 to 5 action items that could be done this week, overnight, tonight.
Number one, end all immunities for vaccine manufacturers if their vaccines caused injury. No, you would be a legend if you did this. That's the number one. If you could say, Rich, what one thing, that would be it. 2, and again, that's healthcare, which is great. You have to have something to address the fears of healthcare. Anytime healthcare has been in the top 3, and I wouldn't normally say this, but because normally I would go down the path of, really, this is about accountability. People are pissed. There has been no accountability. You're not winning. Lawyer up, mother, right? Mike Davis goes on Twitter. Nothing happens to Comey. The lack of accountability. Understand this, guys. The president didn't collude with Vladimir Putin to steal the election. Okay. The media lied to the country about that. If you're a normie and not a partisan, you're outraged. You can't even, it took them so long to understand they were lying because nobody could understand the media would ever tell them such a lie. Then we get into COVID where they believed all of these public health officials. They believed Fauci. They believed the HHS. They believed the CDC and all down the line. And they got lied to about all of it. They couldn't even bury their loved ones. Some of their loved ones by executive order were stuck in nursing homes and they couldn't even bury them. They were killed. I mean, that was like an executive order. That was mass murder. It was democide, right? And we get into it. They steal an election. They install a guy who's senile and lie to the country about it. The public expected, especially young people under 50, they expected hell. They expected an American Franco to come in here and wreck everything. Donald Trump did not say, I will come in and completely reform the deep state. I will put Dan Bongino and Kash Patel at the FBI and reform the deep state. He said, I will dismantle the deep state. Right now, what is he doing? He's fighting his own party over whether or not FISA will be renewed without any reforms whatsoever. Guys, he's not doing what he said he would do. Let's cut the shit. Don't get mad at me because I'm conveying public opinion, because voters, they believed him. All right, like this is what it comes down to. They believed him. They thought they were getting accountability. It didn't come. They thought they were going to get some real correction. And honestly, some of it was unfair, the expectations. They thought they were just going to get a pre-COVID economy under Trump back. That was an unfair expectation, but they handled it wrong with the messaging. You have to do something to hold people accountable. It's the vaccine thing is an accountability thing, but it's also a popular medical policy. No, Republicans have never won an election, guys, when healthcare has been in the top 3 in our polling. They have never won an election. Right now, the number 1 is the inflation and cost of living. Number 2 is general economy and jobs. Number 3 is healthcare. Number 4 is accountability and corruption, fueled by everything I just brought up and the dissatisfaction over how he handled Epstein, all right, which should have been the tool, Dave, that he used to do everything he said he was going to do. Dismantle the Democratic Party, dismantle the deep state, take down the ruling class. He could have used Epstein to do all of that. And instead, Barnes is right. It will be a stain on his legacy forever if he doesn't fix this. And at this point, I don't even know if he did. But again, a couple of things, that's got to be it. You got to put your war, because no matter what he does, popular or not, if he starts a war in Iran, or if he's even seen of helping Israel, look, the country, let me just be as clear as I can be here. The country thinks Donald Trump is BB's bitch at this point. Is that how you want to continue? He could...
Let me stop you there. Other than being a bombastic way of describing it, have you done polling to say that?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. What was the question? Surely
almost 45% of Donald Trump's own 2024 voting coalition thinks that Israel has too much influence over Donald Trump. Okay, this is not good. When you say, "Do you support regime change in Iran?" and then you say, "Well, do you support regime change in Iran on behalf of Israel?" and if it says on behalf of Israel and it comes in worse than just flat out regime change, it should tell you something. Okay, you can't be seen at all because there is an element. It's not, and let me just say this: it's not anti-Semitism. Voters think that, as usual, their interests get cast aside for foreign interests.
Well, but for anybody who cries anti-Semitism, I would only say just replace Israel with Ukraine, and then you'll say, well, it's not anti-Ukrainianism. Then you'll say, well, Ukraine's not the same historical ally as is America, as is Israel. Whether or not you agree with that, it doesn't matter. You swap the country for one that we have the issue with. It's not anti-Ukrainianism.
I went and looked it up too. That's another. I will end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. I think that was a promise he made. I may be mixing it up 24 times. So either he said, I will dismantle the deep state 24 times, and he said, I will end the Ukrainian war 52 times. We went and counted it, because so many people had been bringing this up and saying this during polling. But it doesn't matter. I mean, that just compounds and adds to it. People did not elect Donald Trump to continue these conflicts. And I'm not saying they're, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, it becomes your war. The same way Vietnam became Nixon's war. It wasn't his fault. Nixon didn't start it. Nixon ran on exiting Vietnam respectfully. I forgot the word he used to use, but without a bloody nose and a black eye, right? We're gonna have a respectable exit out of Vietnam. Trump ran on ending the war in 24 hours. Right? So it does become fair or unfair. It becomes the president's war. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, we just got to that point where it was too long, brother. It went on too long. And now Americans are saying, hey, you're the president. Doesn't matter. You could end it today. And he could. Here's another thing. It's like, let's stop taking the voters for fools. They're not. Americans are busy. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. And they know damn well that Donald Trump could end that war tomorrow. He could. You know it, and I know it. He could. He's choosing not to. All right? He wants what he wants out of it. That's fine. Doesn't matter what your explanation is. If he wanted to end it, he could.
So just to recap in 5 bullet points, 3 to 5, the 5 or 3 things that should be done tonight.
Tonight, number one, ending all immunity for drug companies when their vaccines cause injuries. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
2.
That is number one. The use, and here's another problem. We don't have time. I won't get into why Barnes was wigging out so much about antitrust. Go look at the results of our polling. Use the antitrust department and antitrust laws to break up corporations and punish the woke corporations that persecuted his own voters. And I don't mean just, stop Netflix and the friggin', that merger. Get the lobbyists out of your antitrust division, because right now they're going to get a whole bunch of you impeached and you're going to have to issue pardons. It's going to look disgusting for you. All right. Get them out now. I don't even know who you can put in there competent anymore, but go after those organizations that went after your voters and do something that'll help, because a lot of the inflation issues, Dave, are coming from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like housing prices. Well, then you shouldn't have let the lobbyist get his Compass merger. You should have stopped that. All right. And then the food freedoms and all of that are super, super important. But honestly, he has a lot of this is just about optics and perception. The first Trump went around the country touring and cheerleading for American manufacturing. This Trump doesn't. He stays in Mar-a-Lago and in DC with certain people around him, and they're not being seen as having the interests of the average working American in their
Yeah, well, I would say you could do it in 3 words. It would be immunity, Pfizer, and foreign wars. I guess that's 4.
That's it. Yeah, because the foreign wars is big, because if you go and look again, guys, all the polling is up on Big Data Poll. We got more coming out every day. We're rolling more out. Go check it out. You'll see the most popular policies right now that he could go do. The vaccine, antitrust, but you can't step on it with a foreign war. 70% of the country is against this war in Iran. That includes a huge majority of Republicans. It doesn't. The pollsters who are coming out with otherwise results are fudging their wording to come up with the results they want, and they're not explaining the context. I mean, there's even been polling, brother, about how many casualties that Americans are willing to accept in this conflict. Do you know what won? Take a guess. 0. 0. 1. One person dies for Israel and the Greater Israel Project, trying to topple Iran, and Americans are going to flip their shit. They don't want anybody dead at all.
We're going to raid redacted only because I'm late doing it, but we're going to keep talking for a bit, get to all the tip questions. Everybody, you know where to find everybody, but I'll put the links up in the pinned comment when this processes afterwards. How do I raid? I got to go here, got to scroll down. I'm going to bring up the chat. Raid, Rich, I very much appreciate you coming on. This is amazing info. Whether people like it or not, it's absolutely mandatory viewing, mandatory listening. Viva Raid Booyah. And now, Rich, let me bring up these chats and see if we have any.
And let me just say in response to that, it's not my job for you to like me, guys. I don't really care if you like me or not, as Grok so rightly points out about me. I don't give a shit if you like what I'm saying or not. I only care about whether I'm right. And I only care about whether or not I am accurately reflecting the opinion of the only group in this country that has no lobby, no voice, no nothing. And that is the American public.
Rich, on Fridays, this is from Greg76. In between the numbers, you mentioned maybe pulling Massey's race this weekend. I know you got ill, but were you able to pull Massey's race? If not, are you still planning to do so? Hope and praying for a speedy recovery. You're the best.
Hey, thanks. That's exactly what thank you so much. I just had to blow my nose. That's exactly what I had to do. I do plan to pull Massey's race. I'll do it as fast as I can. We're not, contrary to what you guys read on X from the trolls and the straight defamers, we don't take any money from people's PACs or the president's PAC or the NRSC or the NRCC. So we're getting together what we can do. Massey's race is definitely on the top of the list because Herrera and Gonzalez were quicker. So, we will do it. The answer is yes. I wish I just had a better time frame for you, although I suspect it will be sooner rather than later.
We got Ryan PD911. Buy now before March 1st a general admission ticket to Minnesota Lincoln Reagan dinner in beautiful Brainerd, Minnesota. You'll be entered to win one of 30 pairs of VIP tickets to the event, which includes
yes,
with Barnes, Baris, Maureen Bannon, And you will also be entered to win one of 9 pairs of seats to sit with either Robert, Richard, Maureen for the whole dinner. Buy now at Minnesota Lincoln Reagan Dinner.com.
And I got it. Yeah, that's going to be great.
And Roostang says, for the person who quietly behind the scenes props up Viva when he gets befuddled with questions, memes, or rules. Thanks to Viva's wife for saving our Viva more often than we know by calling in to clarify curling rules and memes and many other matters Viva doesn't seem to have a clue about. It doesn't happen as often as you think, Roostang. Tuned in late. What are Massey's poll results in Kentucky 4 district against Trump-backed candidates? Asks Free SC01.
Yeah, we will do that race soon, but I can tell you this. I did see independent polling of it, and I saw 2 polls, the same pollster, who, I mean, look, unless I do it myself, I don't like to vouch for anybody anymore, because I will tell you this without getting specific. People I had respect for have completely let me down. So by that, I mean, like, apparently I really am the only person who can't be bought. And I'm sad to hear that. I'm sad to just say that out loud. Maybe one day we'll get to candidly talk about it. But I think people on my locals page know exactly what I'm talking about. They know exactly what I'm talking about because you're following it. But I'll leave it at that. But I will say this pollster isn't, I don't know that they have an agenda. And what I did see was months ago, before the attacks on Massey started, he was leading by a large margin, but the president's numbers were really high. And by that, I mean, among Republican primary voters, he was in the high 80s. It was like universal. We love him. And then the race is tightening because he's getting bombarded by a ton of money, but he was still ahead. I'll say that. And the president's numbers fell dramatically. So the president's hurting even with Republicans. You could see Herrera, doesn't mean one time a Trump endorsement meant the race was over. It's not. And again, I'll just bring this up. Lindsey Graham. He endorsed Lindsey Graham. Is Graham ahead? Well, I think only an idiot would not acknowledge he's ahead. But the fact of the matter is 30% of the Republican electorate will not vote for Lindsey Graham. So there is this moment where people are starting to ask in the Republican Party, what is this party going to look like when Donald Trump is gone? What is he going to leave us with? He's endorsing all of these really crappy people. So the time of Donald Trump endorsing someone and then, that person overwhelmingly winning without even having a campaign seemingly are over. That time is over, So Massey, he's got a lot of money coming his way, but you don't always need to match it. You just have to have enough to get your own message out. And I can't wait to poll it because I'm just dying. I'm dying to poll that race. I will let you know as soon as I can.
All right, amazing. Now we got 3 Rumble
rants. Tail, brother? What's the lizard tail?
Oh gosh, I scared my wife with a lizard tail.
Okay, did you eat a lizard tail?
No. My kid found it outside, which is still kind of weird because I don't know. He didn't grab the lizard and it shed his tail. He found a freaking iguana tail that we put under our couch and scared the living bejesus out of my wife.
Kind of funny though.
King of Biltong says, we are the lowest priced direct-to-consumer biltong brand in the U.S. Biltong USA does not overcharge for junk. We make real biltong. Go to biltongusa.com, code Viva for 10% off. Ginger Ninja says it's a self-fulfilling parry of statements. Massey won't take any MAGA voters. If you vote for Massey, you're not it's the no true Scotsman paradox. Rich, let me show you one thing here.
Sure. And I would just say, for people out there, there are a lot of if they go to the website, you guys will see a lot of popular policies, He could do them right now. I worry. Oh my goodness. That's adorable.
He got a haircut and he's so defeated. Look at his face.
Calm he is.
He's calm until he sees some other dogs every day. But you see his eyes.
Crazy.
And look at this. I've never seen such a white dog.
Hello.
He's totally defeated.
What's up, like little man? I got some peanut. I got some
like a woman
for you.
We're getting another dog by the end of the week, so we want him to be nice and pretty when the other one gets here.
Yeah.
Rich, it's amazing. Let's go to. Do you have a few more minutes? I didn't know we were going to take the whole show for this.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym after this. Try to sweat the rest of this out.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it because otherwise the anxiety builds up and you just go crazy. Let's take a bunch of questions over in locals. Let me go here, refresh, and just get to see what get your questions in.
I'll just blow my nose. You grab.
Yeah, go for it. Another Englishman, Peter Mandelson has been. Oh yeah, Peter Mandelson has been arrested. I was gonna. I'll cover that tomorrow. And look, this is better. He's so clean, says Joe Mascu. He smells a little too
I mean, a
perfumey.
task force alone would be great. Just put together a task force. Why are we the only Western? It's humiliating. We're the only like Western country who's not reacting to the stuff where we literally have people trying to argue there's no evidence of crimes. And I would have said, and this is something else I think is important. We would have had to tell people like, we can't trust these documents. Like obviously Comey would have purged a bunch of it, right? We don't even have them all. Well, obviously CIA has so much of it, right? Like he should have handled this totally different.
But the question is, and nobody's gonna, if they don't
Winston.
like your answer, if they don't like your answer, they're not gonna care. Who the hell was? It's Susie Wild giving him this advice.
Listen, I've been told by multiple people, when people criticize Susie, that like, well, the place won't run without her. And I've been told that by people that I like and I trust, So I don't know who else could even do that job. But without a doubt, I think there's something to be said because I think Susie does deserve this credit. There was a time where she was legitimately trying to get feedback and, would even say, don't hold back. Tell the president, don't hold back. Now, the problem is with that, you have to be careful with the president because you don't want him on his heels. You don't want him to make him feel like he's under like criticism or attack. Otherwise they'll throw you the fuck out, like, so you have to be careful. And I think she deserves that. I just think that there's something to be said about the willingness to want to learn and understand what voters are thinking and an ability to understand what voters like. So ultimately, it doesn't matter how much you're willing. If you're not capable of it because you just don't come from their side of the tracks, brother, or you just don't have that level of empathy or something, I don't know. And then it leads to really crappy advice. I can tell you this, that Bondi, Blanche, and Lutnick have given the president some of the worst advice this entire administration.
Bondi, I don't understand why she hasn't been fired yet.
Well, I think we know the answer to that.
And then Lutnick, when we talked about it yesterday, Lutnick I could almost forgive for his Epstein ties, but not for lying about it.
Why didn't you just say it then? Just like,
no, because it would be embarrassing to have gone. Well, I guess I don't know. Remember the timeline as to when he gave his answer to Miranda Devine. But once you lie, then you got to cover it up. Like there's no, then laugh at the hoax. Ha. No, you went to this guy's island after you said he was a pervert who offered, talked about the right kind of massage. And then you go with your wife and kids and nannies. Who wants that? And then Bondi is so bad, says Joe Mascu.
I'll have to show you her favorability in a second. It's terrible.
Get the Rumble rants you missed. I want everyone to know I didn't miss the Rumble rants. I don't see them in Rumble. And I have it in the backdrop. I only see 3 Rumble rants: the Quartering, King of Biltong, and Ginger Ninja. And if I scroll up all the way, I see the last one is the Quartering. So there's an app that caches the Rumble rants, which I guess didn't cache them today. If Neurodivergent got them, and thank you. Otherwise, me scusi, but I don't think I can rewind and get them, Nip. Hold on one second. Maybe here, Ginger Ninja. Rich doesn't. Oh, okay. Here, so this. Let me bring this out here. Why did it go to the bottom? Rich doesn't tell me what to think, but Rich spouts things I've been thinking for weeks and months because most people aren't lesser of two evils to their own death. Baris is the best there is. I can pull them up here. Look at this.
You, Ginger.
King of Biltong is in the house. We got that. Then we got Ginger Ninja. Then we got this.
I'd like to think he's talking about Ginger. Yeah, thank you, Ginger. I appreciate that.
He's talking about you for sure. Then we got Ginger who says it's a self. See, I got that one. Then I got this one. Tuned in late. What's Massey's polls? And then we got the place will run without her. What does that mean? And why is that not preferable at this? Says Bob Soap Dish.
Yeah, I mean that's and by the way, I was told last week that she for real threatened to quit. Like really threatened to quit. Like because look, I'm not about making a devil out of somebody all the time. I'm just not. Like ultimately, I think it must be a really crappy job to run Donald Trump's White House. A very difficult job. And she has stopped a lot of the leaks. Let's be real, right? I mean, compared to if you live through 1.0, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like she's used as a scapegoat a lot, even though I'm not defending everything she does here, guys. Don't take it the wrong way.
No, I'm just saying, I don't mind hearing a different perspective because she does get vilified. She does get accused of basically
vilified. Yeah, he's the president, bro. Like he's the most powerful man in the world. He can do whatever he wants. And I think a lot of this that has come down on me kind of hard in the last couple of weeks is the realization that this is a conscious choice, right? Like there are the wrong decisions being made, and at some point you have to, no matter how much you may want to give someone the benefit of the doubt or you personally like them. I mean, you guys have to understand, I've got jovial notes from Trump over the years. He's always been very nice to me, you know, like I like him. I personally like the guy, you know. It doesn't give me any pleasure at all to say that I think this is failing. In fact, it's a constant weight on my shoulders. Constant. I don't like it. Everyone thinks I'm over here like cheerleading for it or something. That's bullshit. I wanted them to listen. They didn't. And the last couple of weeks, their events and things that have happened have just like forced me to come to the realization they hear you and they know what needs to be done. There's a reason it's not being done. And those reasons are not good reasons. And I'm choosing to withhold a lot from people.
Well,
you know some of, and
I know nothing, Richard. You don't tell. I know nothing. Nobody
well, not
even
like
knows what I
that.
don't know.
Like, you know, I mean,
of course, I'm joking. People don't even know. Nobody knows who I've spoken to and what I know until that person decides to say it. Which is why, Rich, I'm looking at.
Why don't we look at CV's tweet? I'll just leave it there. Never mind.
Never
mind. I'm gonna stick my foot in my mouth.
Hold on. First of all, we're still on Rumble. I forgot. This is our after party, everybody. If you want this every day, you can come over to Locals. If Richard hasn't yet, and I'm not asking this question, it's being
no comment.
I'll say it out loud for those who are listening.
Read it out loud. I'll blow my nose.
Can he talk about pollsters about being silenced or pressured to not critique the Trump administration? Is that why Mark Mitchell hasn't tweeted since February 16? And then there's no comment because I know
comment.
No, nothing. And
I will direct you to Rasmussen Reports for the answer to that question.
Let me go down. Let's go down to the bottom. I know nothing.
I know nothing. Yeah.
You can lead a horse to water, I guess, says SV. Explain Susie's continued undermining of RFK Jr. and repeated assignments of HHS subordinates that are undercutting his efforts. Can you?
Yes. I mean, I can speak to what I know, which is that I'm telling you, everywhere you go, whether you speak to people at HHS, even freaking Treasury, they all point to the same place, which is Susie's friend at the DOJ. So Florida is strong within the administration. And everybody, and I'm not saying, I don't know, I wish Susie would try to clarify some of this, but everybody says the DOJ is like blocking, even when it's not the purview of the DOJ to get involved in some of this stuff. That's the problem. So, because like when people tell me this stuff, I'm like, well, what the hell does that have to do with Pam Bondi and the DOJ or Todd Blanche? Like, what does removing direct immunities or giving people the right to civilly sue Pfizer or Moderna for vaccine injuries, what the hell does that have to do with anything? I just don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, and yet it's there. So like everyone in DC isn't bullshitting. Like, I mean, come on, I mean, could they be? Yeah, sure, guys. All right. And I don't know. The moon could be made of cheese, like I don't know. Like, what do you want me to equate it to? It's so ludicrous.
Let's get a little gossipy. Techno Data says, Baris, what are your thoughts on the attempts of cat turd crowd for canceling Bannon over Epstein ties?
Cat turd is the kind of person I just have no use for whatsoever. Like, like here he is. He gets he gets a bunch of love from someone like Tucker Carlson, and he gets pushed by all of these people, these OG, even OG MAGA types like Bannon, and just to be like, I don't know, just to be a total sycophant. Like, if you're so quick to be a sycophant, you can't even check the jobs report before you tweet out something to make you look like a total ignoramus.
Yeah.
How many times has Cat Turd done that, right?
Cat Turd sat there. First of all, I do think he's... it's not to be mean. His political analysis is worthless because literally it's A and not A depending on the time. And he has the amount of tweets he had. I stand with Bannon when it was convenient.
That's another one. Yeah, I mean, look, brother, like he's actually dangerous to the movement. I really have to tell you, like sycophants are dangerous. Okay, if I use this example to my locals the other day, like if Mehmed II had listened to the sycophants, he would have tried to go over the chain in the Golden Horn with the Armada, and his Armada would have been destroyed. He didn't listen to the sycophants, and he drug his damn armada across the land using the trees he cut down to roll the ships, and instead went on the eastern side of the Golden Horn and surrounded Constantinople. If he would have listened to the sycophants, he would have ended up with a smashed army, I think army number 25, to smash up the side of the walls of Constantinople, and it wouldn't be called Istanbul today. Whether you agree or disagree is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying, right? Sycophancy is dangerous. And he's the kind of idiot who, through the first Trump administration, was reading Q-tard boards and telling people that, justice was coming and Robert Mueller was a white hat and Michael Flynn's house really wasn't up for collateral. This is all some 5D chess. Let me just put an end to this whatsoever. Anyone who says that Donald Trump plays 4D chess is a total scam artist, and you should stop following them right now, because anyone who knows Donald Trump knows he doesn't play 4D chess. All right. Donald Trump is convinced by the last person who was convincing to him at that moment. That's how he makes decisions. He's a gut check guy. All right. He's not a 4D chess player. Nobody in his circle will ever claim that he plays 4D chess. They will laugh at you, however, and snicker and walk down the halls of the West Wing thinking you're an idiot. No, nobody believes that. So when you see someone like total 4D chess, hit the unfollow button, because they have no idea about anything. They know nobody's damn number is in their cell phone. They don't speak to anybody. Okay. It's BS. All right. Cat turd, somebody like that. I will say I knew Bannon was in those files. Obviously I talked to him about it before. And I do think a lot of it looks bad, but look, the guy is doing what he does. I just personally would never look. Bannon's not somebody who demands total loyalty to be friends with him. I think it was a stupid decision. I think it was. I don't like to roll around in the mud, with people, because then you get dirty. So I wouldn't have done it. But at the same time, a lot of this stuff, he was helping launder money through World of Warcraft. Dude, that's cat turd retard.
No, the only one that I'm unable to discern is the accusations that he was actively trying to get Trump impeached or strip Trump of immunities. He had the discussions, he never had the power, but it's the ostensibly rehabilitating the image of a convicted sex offender.
Yes,
that is
which is where I don't.
Even if you have that skill, it's a skill better left unused, and go and do something else.
Jesus, brother, there are a lot of legit cons who had drug offenses that you could rehabilitate their image, for crying out loud. This guy is not somebody you want to do that with. Now, the thing with the 25th, when I saw it, when I knew about it, I got to tell you, I did laugh a little bit, because a lot of people probably don't know what really happened with Bannon and how he was removed from the White House when, why? Because never Trump wanted him gone, and never Trump won that. And so if you're Trump, if you're a Bannon later, even though you're very publicly loyal, later, if you joke with someone in a text message about the 25th, big whoopty shit, you got screwed. And Bannon was the only one tethering him to
He never had the power. He never had any power to even act on that. So even if he made the joke, even if he said it out of anger, Ginger Ninja says good people still have to make hostage statements in support of Susie Wiles because Trump literally works for Susie. He said it himself. She controls him.
Yeah, that was a bit of a joke, Ninja, but I know.
I don't know this.
I know. And it's he says things, what do they call that? Half out of, what's that expression? Yeah. I can't remember,
a half truth out of a
tongue
joke.
Tongue in cheek, I guess. Yeah. It's the same thing, tongue in cheek. But then all of this happens and you can't help but to say, was it though?
Well, when he gets up there and says Adelson has, is basically running things as well. She's
that
more Israel
relationship
first.
Is a problem.
Yep.
That relationship is a real problem.
Get Congress to pass a law regarding immunity and big pharma, says Don Sundin. I think a lot of people have been suggesting that, and it's
and Secretary Kennedy has been trying to do this. So he started going after this fund first, guys, but it's a government fund. You freaking fund it. And Kennedy's whole thought process is, why would we, because their critics were saying you can't expand the amount of injuries that people can claim because you're going to bankrupt the fund. And he's like, well, how about we bankrupt the damn companies to begin with? Why does Jesus, Laura? Why don't we bankrupt the companies? And that's been his plan, was to remove this fund. This is crazy to get taxpayers to pay for big pharma's mistakes. This is insane. Nobody has that.
No, and then the glyphosate executive order, regardless of what it said and regardless of what could be legally binding, another unforced one.
Totally different. Yeah, exactly.
Chunkster says Ross Vaught. Russ Vaught would be the best replacement for Susie. He wrote the chapter of an executive officer president for 2025. He's an amazing OMB. Also, Rich, I reached out to you through Barnes and Laura, re-helping with BD.
I did see that, and I actually may have just be patient, Chunkster, because I will be in a better position to be able to like help you, help build that resume. You know, hopefully we got some big things coming. You know, I don't have a timeline, but I will need help from people like good people like you. So stay tuned. I did see it, and I'm trying. Russ Voigt, I agree. I think that's the obvious replacement choice if that happens. Unfortunately, the reason why I'm so reluctant to say, like, to jump on this train with everybody who says Susie has to go is because I don't trust the replacement process at all. Can you stop doing that? You're driving.
We're ending anyhow. I'm getting a text as well. It's
Jeez,
Rich.
How rude.
Don't worry. This was amazing. And locals. I mean, I guess now it's locals and Rumble. Rich, tell everybody where to find you one last time. I'm going to put it in the link pinned comment when we go. Hold on. I never did my ad read. Oh, for goodness sake. I didn't think Rumble.
Last.
No, I can't.
Hold on. I'll get rid of it right now.
Sake. This is what happens when I. Well, while he does that, hold on. Let me eat. I can't do that. This is why. Hold on. Let me bring Rich back in here.
You're doing the search my phone because she forgot it when she left this morning. So she's doing search my phone and it's ringing, right? Because I have it. I saw it, so I grabbed it.
Rich, look, I'm gonna. For goodness sake, I'll do. I see. I think the irony is I always thank Rumble Wallet anyhow, but we're gonna just go do this right now because download the Rumble Wallet, people. Let me show you where it is. I'm an idiot. It doesn't matter.
I did it too, but I don't push it. I need to start pushing it. I I did it.
You don't even need to push it because it pushes itself. But I've got it.
Really?
I think everybody. I don't know I don't have any internal figures as to what the Rumble Wallet is doing in terms of downloads. But everybody, this is the sponsor for today's show. There you go. And you've seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back. We all know it. Platforms are controlling narratives, pushing the stuff they want us to see, which incidentally might explain why so many people allegedly hate Massey when I don't think as many do. We need to fight back. Rumble is the only company that has stood at the test of time and deserves our support. One side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship. On the other side, you can now invest in crypto, and you can also open accounts that cannot be shut off by the banks because banks cancel our accounts, freeze our cards. And with Rumble Wallet, you can control your own money, not a bank, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours and only yours. Don't lose the passkey because you won't have access to it anymore. That's how yours it is. You can buy, save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with actual ownership of physical gold bars. It's not a wallet just to buy and save, but also allows you to tip your favorite creators like myself, like Rich. You know how to do it. I've showed everybody how to do it. Go to wallet.rumble.com or download it on the app. And let's see. Do I want to do it? Do we want to go?
Yeah. Listen, locals, don't forget to download the Rumble Wallet. I
want to show everybody here. Let's go here, and then you can see. Look, if you go to tip, you click on the tip. Ooh. Once you've downloaded the wallet, you go click here. You go to tip Bitcoin. Scan this. Well, let's see if anybody does it. Go give a tip via crypto. Bitcoin to Redacted and let them know from whence you came.
I need to check mine. I did it, and I didn't know the tip thing was right below the video. So people could have tipped and I wouldn't know.
Well, this is why I walk people through it so that they can actually see it.
That's smart.
And then you can go back here if you want to tip with gold because that might be worth more. This is gold backed. You just scan that QR code. And
everybody, if you want to tip the People's Pundit, I would prefer you tip in gold.
I know, absolutely. I think gold to Bitcoin right now. And then we're going to go back
here. That's why I put that up just to before to show people. And if you do want to follow and, everybody I saw the links in the description. We're everywhere. Locals is the best place to follow us. You'll be able to go on big data polls straight from Locals. You'll see support our polls, stuff like that. But you'll always see us post there for people who say, but it's, the methodology, it could be other people. Guys, we've been doing this a very long time. We know how to get away from response bias and we know how to identify it. We know how to even show you the differences, like how I got and built my brand. But this is you will not see other pollsters do something like what's on the screen right now, just so you can see. You can go around, you can even zoom in. Every locator pin indicates somebody we interviewed. Purple is Massey if you wanted to. Yeah.
Cool.
You can go and see what everyone's vote history is. I mean, guys, we do this because we've been around long enough to know what kind of criticisms people level when they don't like the results of a poll.
Mhm.
Left, right, nobody is as transparent as the People's Pundit and this industry. Nobody. And yeah, I actually would encourage you guys to go do that because it's really cool. You can go look and see the other answers to the interviews. You know, it's to the questions in the interview. It's really neat.
Let me see here. We got a bunch of questions that came in. Russ Vaught. Okay, Dread Robert says, not a joke. He does what Miriam Adelson tells him to,
Yes.
and he knows Susie is his minder. That's the real guy. He no longer cares who knows. Why do people think he's joking? His actions match his comments.
Yeah.
Ginger Ninja says, we voted for Trump because they tried to kill him. We thought he couldn't be bought. Turns out he bends to the knee to anybody, to the ones who shot at him, proceeds to sell out. Dan Sundin says max damages from claims for Vax Court is 250,000. Typical is below 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's roughly what it is in Canada. I don't know what the average payout is in
pathetic.
Canada. It's
meanwhile,
that's even if they even recognize it.
Dan, 1 in 5 at least since we started with the 4 Freedoms poll, 1 in 5. And we also asked about the flu just to have a comparison. 1 in 5 say that they know someone personally who has been seriously hurt or injured by the vaccine. Those are insane numbers. And by the way, I think the last time we asked, it was like 23%. I mean, that's crazy. We did the flu. It was nothing. It was within the sampling era. So just as a comparison, because we wanted people to see that it's not just people saying, oh yeah, I've been hurt. I know someone has been hurt by a vax. When we say the flu shot or the mist, you know, it depends what they take, right? It's nothing in comparison. So it just lends credibility.
Never even heard of anybody. I mean, in my own, I wasn't paying attention to it, but never heard of anybody getting injured from the flu shot. From the jab, I can give you at least a half dozen in my immediate circle. Taxpayers who pays his injuries are typically multi-million lifetime. Yep. And then Dan Sundin says every case filed in the Vax court have their discovery sealed and not available for the people damaged.
Yeah. Terrible.
Rich, now we're going to end it. We're going to say our proper goodbyes offline. Rumble, locals. This has been fantastic. So you know where to find all of us. Links will be in the description. I'll make sure that, we see them. And that's it. So now I'm going to end the stream. And Rich, we'll talk offline. Everybody, Godspeed, God bless, and see you tomorrow.